This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome to Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of the stupid stuff!
We are back on track with our schedule for Cage Against the Machine, the second month of Nicolas Cage movies that we've done here on the show. And there are quite a few movies left to cram into the last 2 weeks or so of April, so I better get to it. We started things off with Deadfall, one of Cage's most insane performances. And then there was a bit of juggling, a bit of rescheduling. And like the true madman that I am, I decided to add another episode into the month and just cram it all in there. So May look a little bit different than I intended, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And speaking of crossing bridges, that brings us to today's episode, as I was joined once again by my friend and filmmaker, Topher Graham from Bad Cookie Pictures in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. He's a true connoisseur of Cage. You heard him here talking about Mom and Dad last November. And he's back today to talk about Patrick Lussier's Drive Angry from 2011. Insanely over the top. He does get tasered while still inside this woman.
Hoot and holler at the TV, and we're gonna drink beer and have a good time.
You know, it's not the burning, it's not the fire, it's the TV.
It was so exciting he had to pause it, go to Reddit mid-movie, and come back to it.
Buttoned down, but also very intense. He's smelling a lot of things.
I don't understand this world that we live in.
Yeah, that was a good one. I gotta pat myself on the back there. I like that.
You're dead.
Yeah, we've been getting that a lot lately.
No, Toots. I carried his coffin.
Webster, are you gonna keep stroking that 357 or are you gonna yank it?
That depends. How is this possible? You heard about my daughter? I did. Well, you know why I'm back.
Topher, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too. I am so stoked about this.
Yeah, when we had, I think, when I put out initially sort of some feelers as to who would want to do Nick Cage movies if possible, I know, we talked about Mom and Dad, obviously, on the show, but this was one that you had mentioned then as one that you would also be happy to go to bat for. And so I'm glad that we found a way to circle back to this one, because it's pretty crazy, high budget B-movie madness.
I saw this one in theaters, and I realized that I must have seen this one in theaters as I was doing the rewatch, and I don't think I've seen it since, up until this last week. But it's in 3D, and it was mental, but definitely of its time. I remember that time very well, because that was when I first moved to Vancouver, and theaters were just starting the new Real D, where it looks real and comes in 3D, and this movie was kind of on the precipice of that, although it wasn't. I guess it's still going on now. I just saw Super Mario Brothers in 3D, but
yeah, this was one that was sort of on the front edge of that new 3D technology. It's one of the reasons that Nick Cage was interested in coming onto the project, was because of that technology and being interested in working with that. So pretty cool that a movie like this can exist. It's one that I thought I had seen, but I had not watched the whole thing. It's one that had been on cable like a bunch of times, and I had sort of turned it on while it was already playing. And I would watch some of it and just be like, okay, I need to start this from the beginning. And then I just like never caught it from the beginning, because there's scenes where I'm like, okay, I know this scene, but I don't know where I would have seen it if I hadn't like just watched it somewhere. And I'm not really the kind of person I'm like, oh, just let me go on YouTube and watch like movie clips. So I'm like calling on these like old memories of it, but this is the first time I've ever like watched it in full. And so it was kind of a fun time capsule thing for Nick Cage as well, and especially sort of looking at his entire filmography, and this kind of being one of the movies that is, I don't want to say less than, because it's a lot of fun, but I mean, I think generally speaking, it's probably considered to be among his sort of like his movies where he was in exile, kind of. So to see that, like, this movie can be as fun and as good as it is, while still sort of being one of those movies, was a really interesting experience. And the cast is fun. Um, the action is good. He's entertaining in it. It's really unrestrained, and he's made a lot of sort of like lower budget movies, a lot of B movies in his career, but this one feels like big in a way that a lot of maybe the other stuff, the more maybe not even more artsy, but more toned down movies don't elevate to. Like, this is a good blend of sort of Cage's personality, but also like it's not a movie where Cage is going insane like he sort of got famous for on the internet. Like, I had just talked about Deadfall on the show, and that's one where like he's doing something that's completely different than the rest of the movie. It's like, here's this neo noir sort of like detective thriller, and he's being like an Andy Kaufman character in that, and screaming and like doing an accent and wearing a fake nose and mustache and wig. And like this, I think, in comparison, is like fairly tame, straightforward Cage, just kind of doing a good job, not doing anything over the top.
I do feel like he doesn't stick out in this world because it's kind of built around that kind of craziness. You see all the other characters are quipping just as much as he is. Like, it's a very it's one of those movies where probably at the time we're seeing the clips go around on YouTube. We're seeing the like compilations of him really going crazy, and this movie was there just at that time, ready to kind of capture that audience. And you can see that it's built out for him to kind of move around in effortlessly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I love that. It's very it's a very playful film in the way, but it's also one that kind of like burns brightly in the moment. And I think, to your point, that you remember parts of it, you remember quips and things, but you don't remember the full movie. I think it kind of burns brightly as you watch it, and maybe it didn't stick with people after it played.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a high octane kind of movie, and it's paced fairly quickly, so you're really speeding through this plot. I mean, the fact that he escapes hell, and like that's the whole side of the story is kind of like, don't worry about that. Like, yeah, enjoy the cars and the explosions and the chases, and the violence and the nudity and all that. But yeah, the hell stuff, like we'll tell you about it at the end when it matters. But yeah, you don't have to concern yourself with the details of that throughout the course of the story. And I think that's a fun element because, like you said, the world around him was designed for like him having a big personality, so it doesn't seem like he's super out of place in it. Like even Amber Heard is very loud. She punches people in the face, she kicks guys in the nuts, you know. So her character is very big and very boisterous. And so it's like she's playing the character seriously, as is Cage. But yeah, they're both of the characters are sort of at the same level. And then you even get Jonah, who's very eccentric and weird in his own right, and the accountant who is very buttoned down, but also very intense. He's smelling a lot of things, and you know, he gets into these like slow mo stare down. So it's like there's this sense of humor, I think, that everybody is kind of aware of, but nobody's really like tapping into that much. Like we all kind of know it's there, but nobody's going past where the line is so that it takes it into this crazy realm. It just, yeah, it has like a video game feel to it, but in a way that I think really works for what this story is. And I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm glad that I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it start to finish. And I was very sad. I'm like, man, I wish I had 3D glasses. I don't know if this would work on my TV or not, but like I'm sad that I didn't get to see this as a 3D experience because there are some wild scenes that really, I think, have fun with that premise.
They definitely were playing up the 3D, you know, stuff
Yeah.
going towards the screen, stuff that you would have seen really intensely in the theaters. I looked it up. They don't make 3D TVs anymore. You really only have uh, a limited chances to watch movies like this
Yeah.
in the theater environment. Like even if you could find an old 3D TV, they only really had like a decade lifespan. They're going to be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. And I mean, it's nice that a movie like this sort of could get made at all because I mean, sort of probably when we were growing up, 3D was kind of relegated to like this B movie slop stuff where, you know, it's Jaws 3, right? And like, oh, well, we're time to go 3D. It's like Piranha 3D. So we're like the technology was there, but it was more of like a gimmick than it was sort of like built in. And so the fact that we could wait long enough to see it come back like with the better technology, but still have it be kind of a gimmick in the movie, but still like make it to theaters and be kind of like it's not a small budget movie. It cost $50 million. So yeah, this is not something that was like haphazardly thrown together. This was something that was designed to be like an entertaining time at the movies. And I think, you know, in the right environment, people probably had fun with it. But yeah, if you're not a 3D enthusiast, I could see it being like, oh, that part of it is kind of cheesy.
Well, the other movie this director did was My Bloody Valentine 3D. And I very much remember seeing that in theaters. I think that was probably my first 3D movie in theaters because it was just a slasher film where they were
Yeah.
definitely going to play up everything in the technology, play with the audience. There was stuff going through people towards the camera at the screen. Uh, I love that that director got to make that film and come back to it with Nicolas Cage and Amber Heard and really like explore what the technology was about. And I can see why Nicolas Cage was excited to kind of get into that play space too, because it really is um, where now you have to think about uh, how you can use this technology to enhance the genre and how you're going to play to your audience in a way that's going to make them want to come back and see more 3D movies and hopefully like kickstart uh, theaters again. I remember that was a time when people were like, "Oh, this is gonna save the movie theater industry."
Yeah. And I mean, maybe with like, 4DX, which honestly is not a great movie going experience a lot of the time. Like for the right movie, it works. But for the wrong movie, it's like it just doesn't feel right. And the chair is like punching me in the back, which I mean, like, okay, let's take it easy here. I'm 40 years old. I can't be going on a roller coaster to watch the movie. But for something like this, it feels almost like a movie that's made for like a drive-in 3D experience because it has like that kind of B movie energy to it, and it feels like it would be really fun to like watch in your car because so much of it is a road movie. Like he's driving for a solid 50% of the movie, and so I just felt like it is a throwback to an era that doesn't really exist anymore. And so it exists in a weird vacuum of like, hey, this is clearly revisiting a technology that we really wanted to promote and we can do some fun things with, but sort of the industry has passed us by with that. Like, so like you said, you saw Super Mario in 3D. Like that movie's not made for 3D, but it's sort of like, I don't know, like retroactively 3D'd, and that happens to a lot of movies now. And sometimes I'll go and see that. I'm like, oh, that looks good. Makes sense for this movie. I feel like Super Mario, because it's all animated, would probably be a good use of that because there's no like weirdness between the foreground and background. But sometimes I'll watch something in 3D thinking it's going to look good. And I'm like, ugh, like because it's so much CGI in a real world, the contrast between the CGI thing in the foreground and the real background is so stark that it really sort of like takes me out of it. And so it is sort of a weird blend. I think I saw one of the Jaws re-releases in 3D and it looked pretty solid. They did a good job. I saw T2 when it came back and they released it in 3D and that was pretty good. But James Cameron spent a lot of time making sure that it looked the way that he wanted it before doing that. And I'm sure with a movie like Jaws, they spent a lot of time doing that the right way as well. So it's like 3D movies made for the experience of 3D, where it's advertised as like this movie is shot in 3D. It's supposed to be seen in 3D. That's kind of an outlier. And I can't even think of like the last movie within, this is 2011. What's happened in the last like 15 years where there's been like a made for 3D movie? I can't even think of one off the top of my head.
Uh, I couldn't even go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen so many movies in 3D, but it just happened to be in 3D because that's kind of the movie going experience is, oh, we have the theaters, we have the technology, we'll put it out, you can put on the glasses, you can have fun. But yeah, we didn't specifically need it to be in 3D. We didn't do it for 3D. You might not even notice it's in 3D. And that's kind of a bummer, but uh, where technology kind of normalizes, we get used to it, and it's no longer a draw to call it 3D like it was back in 2011. But I
Yeah.
think you're right. It would have been a great drive-in movie, which is also a hard lose. We just lost our drive-in theater here
Mhm.
in Vancouver last year.
That's a bummer. We were out in the desert this past weekend and driving down there from like the LA area to the desert. It's like 2 hours and some change. And so you drive by a lot of like the inland empire cities and like I see where there is like a drive-in screen, but it's not a drive-in anymore. It's just like a swap meet that they didn't tear the screen down. So yeah, like losing that from our culture has sort of taken a lot of movies with it that are movies that sort of fit that environment. Like your expectations are different when you're in your own car and you're watching a movie versus like going to the theater and sitting down, and like it is a very different experience. So I'm happy that a movie like this can exist. I'm sad that I may never be able to get to actually see it in 3D the way that it was intended to be seen, because yeah, there are a lot of cool 3D scenes that happen in the movie, and I can see them when they're supposed to happen, but it's like I don't get the full effect of it. And I'll have to just imagine what that was like to see it in 3D the first time. Nicolas Cage in the middle of having intercourse, dodging an axe blade at his head and shooting a guy behind his back in 3D. In out of context, that sounds crazy, but in the world of this movie, I mean, it's still a pretty wild scene, I will admit. I'm like, that's probably the craziest sort of moment in the movie in terms of leaning into the fact that like we are having fun here with the film. Like this is supposed to be funny to some extent. And
I never disrobe before a gunfight.
Yeah, and I mean he wasn't wrong. Kept his clothes on for a good reason. But yeah, so something like that can exist in this movie. Has a lot of fun with the premise, kind of like letting you know early on that like, hey, we are here to have fun with this, but we're going to get it sort of out of the way early so that we can get to some of like the more serious side of the story. I like that it can have those two halves, because it could entirely forget about like the seriousness of like devil worship and hell on earth and that kind of thing. And it could play into just like the silly side of things and probably still be a lot of fun. And as the movie's ending, I'm like, oh man, how fun would it be to have William Fichtner and Nick Cage come back in like a buddy comedy capacity, trying to chase down somebody else who has escaped from hell. So you have the accountant and you have Milton who's done it before. Like, how do we bring down like this bigger threat? I would love to see that. I think that would be so much fun, because Fichtner and him are very, very good together in this movie, and they're both very fun individually. And I think those two personalities sort of like having to buddy cop it throughout the film could be a lot of fun.
The contrast of them against each other, and the way that he stands up straight, he walks directly, he doesn't react to crazy action, while Nicolas Cage is a bit more loose and unhinged and shooting people up and flipping over cars on purpose. It would be an incredible dynamic in a sequel or um, adjacent film.
Yeah, well, like so much of the movie sort of puts them on opposite paths that looks like they're going to like collide in the end. And then when they do get face to face, it's like, yeah, this was never like a showdown between us. And it's like, we don't even personally really dislike one another. We just have different jobs and different goals here. So I love the dynamic with them. And Fichtner's great. I mean, he's always great, but a great foil, I think, to the character that we get here with Cage. So to see him sort of in the suit and the tie and be very measured and very methodical versus Cage being, a little bit unhinged as he always is. Great character dynamic, but let's crack open the film file here and take a look at the details. So this was directed by Patrick Lussier, written by Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier, starring, of course, Nicolas Cage, Amber Heard, William Fichtner, and Billy Burke, but also featuring David Morse, Todd Farmer, Todd Atkins, Katie Mixon Greer, and Pruitt Taylor Vince in a very small role, but noticeable. Music was by Michael Wanmacher, cinematography by Brian Pearson, edited by Dean C. Lussier and Patrick Lussier, casting by Nancy Nair, production design by Nathan Amundsen, set direction by Kristen Bixler, and costumes by Mary E. McLeod. A very large-scale production, I think. But I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around sort of like the bad movie nature of this. Like, it's clearly a B movie, but the attention to detail, I think, on all the fronts is pretty good. The music is solid. The costume design is good. The makeup design is good.
Amazing stunts.
Yeah, great stunts, real pyro, like solid VFX considering like yes, it's not meant to look well integrated into the film. It's meant to be a 3D experience. Um yeah,
Cohesive all the way through. It's a incredibly enjoyable experience at its own like baseline. You're
yeah.
not gonna come out of it saying, "Oh, well, they did this wrong. This is bad." You're not overlooking any like CGI that's a bit too hokey.
Yeah,
It's an incredibly competent film.
I agree, and that's why I'm trying to I can see the scores, and let's just take a look at the tail of the tape now, so that we have the proper context for it. So this movie has a 54 IMDb score, or a 5.4, I should say. It has a Metascore of 44, a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 46%, but an audience score of 37%. Then it has a letterbox of 2.5 and a Google user's thumbs up rating of 66%, giving us a Bad Movies We Love total score of 49.5 out of 100. I think far too low. This is not only is it not a bad movie, like it's also a fun movie. So if you can meet the movie on its level, it's a totally enjoyable experience from top to bottom. And trying to sort of piece together the badness, I'm like, okay, maybe it's a little over the top, but like that's not a big
That's
deal.
not out
Like
of
that,
place.
yeah, that's the premise of the film, is that it's over the top. Like the tagline for the movie is a vengeful father escapes from hell and chases after the men who killed his daughter and kidnapped his granddaughter. Like the whole movie's going to be over the top when that is the premise. I mean, maybe you don't like the title, or you think the 3D is bad. Like I don't know. It's such a weird thing to
That's
from.
shocking for the audience score.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because you would think they would go in knowing this is a Nicolas Cage centerpiece, and you can tell this was meant for him to be at his like high energy, quippy, over the top kind of stage, and so it's almost disappointing to see.
I agree. I think the right audience though tends to like this movie, and maybe there's just not a lot of that. But yeah, I'm looking here. It's got 25,000 fan ratings at 37%. The critics' consensus says it may deliver the over-the-top action pieces, but Drive Angry prefers to work safely within grindhouse formula to do something truly unique. I mean, like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
grindhouse like exploitation action movie. Like, I don't know. I don't know what was sort of lost in translation. You know, if you were to tell me in a vacuum, we're gonna make like an exploitation B movie about a guy who comes back from hell to chase down a cult leader, and it's gonna star Nicolas Cage, and be like, yeah, I'm in. I am 100% in on that. So, like,
I'm
yeah,
in. I'm bringing my friends, and we're gonna
mm-hmm.
hoot and holler at the TV, and we're gonna drink beer and have a good time. I think maybe that's what's missing. Too many people that staying at home watching it on their own and not engaging with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be curious if we got a performance from Cage that was more in line with the sort of outlandish internet stuff. Like if he was bigger, right? Like if he was doing all of the crazy things that Nick Cage is sort of infamous for, would that have given the movie the kind of like sort of like guilty watchability of like, oh, I want to see like how insane he is in this, right? Because like I think if you clip even his craziest moments together in this movie, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty straightforward as like, yeah, this is action. I mean, yeah, the one is pretty wild, but it's not like he's naked in that scene, which would have been insane as well. Just fighting a bunch of attackers in 3D nudity. But yeah, this is a good movie, I think.
I I really think it must come back to it burns really bright really quickly, and maybe it just didn't stick with people, you know? Because I went back when I saw this on your list of movies you wanted to do. I was like, oh, I remember the poster. I think that's a good movie. I'd love to take that. Mom and Dad, I remember more, so I'll offer that up to you. But I'm glad you gave me the chance to come back and revisit it, because when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, right. I saw this in theaters. I loved it. I think it probably sparked a good time of watching more Nicolas Cage movies it, back in 2011. And but for the life of me, 2011 to 2026, I I never thought to bring it out to watch with friends. I didn't pick it up on DVD. I didn't hunt it down on the streaming services. So I do think it doesn't have that like staying power as something that, like, say Mandy does,
Yeah.
or even Vampire's Kiss, where something's gonna stick in your mind and stay with you when you're done.
Yeah, and I think it was also maybe it was a busy year for Cage in 2011, in that he did Season of the Witch right before this, then Drive Angry, then Seeking Justice, then Trespass, and then the Ghost Rider sequel. So he had 5 movies in 2011, but he's coming off of also Kick-Ass and The Sorcerer's Apprentice the year before, which are 2 vehicles for him that were like fairly well regarded, and good use of him as like a serious actor again. So then in Season of the Witch, which I like, he's playing that pretty straightforward. I mean, it's a period sort of supernatural horror movie, but he's playing it as if like he's taking it seriously. And then you get to Drive Angry, and it's like, okay, did he undo sort of like the goodwill that he had earned through those other movies at this point? And people are like, why is he doing like B movie grindhouse shit at this point when he just, when Kick-Ass was so good, right? So, I mean, it could be just a thing about expectations. He's had such a big career that, you know, I feel like you can be a fan of Cage's work for like just his best work, and there's still 100 other movies on the table, right? I think he's got like 120 something like technically credits, but he did stuff like Knowing, or there was a Next. So those like sort of weird futuristic thrillers where like Nick Cage is the last man on Earth, or like the only person that can save the world kind of thing. And these are
Spans a
also,
wide net.
yeah, he really does. And then Bad Lieutenant is right in the middle of this as well. So yeah, it's coming at a weird time where it's like he's kind of having a renaissance, but he's also sort of mixing and matching as he goes. Because I remember like when you know Next came out, and Knowing, I was like, of course I'm going to watch these, but I didn't walk away from them being like, oh, this is like such a great use of Nicolas Cage. But I'm like, hey, I'm glad that these movies got made, and he's making a National Treasure sequel at that time too. Bangkok Dangerous comes out. So it's like he's working and doing stuff that he wants to do. And maybe like just in the stretch of stuff that he's doing at this time, Drive Angry is sort of like maybe near the bottom of the curve with that kind of stuff. But that's why in watching it, I'm like, well, it's well made. Like it looks good. Costumes are solid. Good cast. He's good in it. Amber Heard's good in it. William Fichtner's good in it. Like I just everything seems to add up for me personally. And I don't know if it's just like my Nick Cage bias or the fact that I love B movies, but it seems like a project that works and probably should be more well liked. But again, like if you don't see it in 3D and you look at the 3D thing as this kind of gimmick, then maybe it's just it's always going to be a non-starter.
But I did rewatch it in non 3D, and I still
Yeah.
had a great time. I mean, we could chalk it up to you saying Kick-Ass came out at this time, the Ghost Rider sequel. Maybe he was starting to draw in that like larger, more mainstream audience, and maybe they were off put by devil worship and the baby killing and the sex gunfights and the
I could see somebody
drinking beer out
walking
of
out of the
skull.
yeah, I could see someone walking out of the theater during the sex gunfight, be just like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," and then leaving. So,
And 2011 were just before the kind of like Me Too movement came in, and this movie is quite sexual.
it is, yes.
In ways that are maybe a little uncomfortable to modern audiences.
It is very aware of the male gaze for sure. From the way that it like shoots Amber Heard from like the ground up, and like she's got her Daisy Dukes on. Like obviously the people that made it are fans of movies from the era prior to that, where all this stuff was just like fairly normal and consistent within the genre. Um, so yeah, I could see that maybe being an issue, but like it's a rated R grindhouse exploitation movie. Like it would be weird if it didn't have nudity in it, you know.
Yeah, it totally sets it up for what it's supposed to be. It sets you up as a viewer to this is what you're going to get into. This is what we have on the table. Um, we've broken all the taboos right away, so just let go of all your expectations and enjoy it. Come along for the ride. I think that's
we happen to
it
generally
did a really
be
good job of that.
yeah, we just happen to be like the correct audience for this movie where, maybe we are in the minority that way, but we'll take a look at Critics Corner when we get there and we'll hear what the critics had to chop this one up on. But let me take a moment here and set the table for the audience. So the lead role of Milton was initially supposed to be that of a 70-year-old man, somebody in his 70s. And when Nick Cage expressed interest in the part when reading about the character having his eye shot out, which was something that he apparently wanted to do in Season of the Witch, but they had to scale it back to get a PG-13 rating, he jumped at the chance to try to get the part. And when the production team heard about it, they said, yep, let's change the role. He doesn't need to be 70 because we're going to have Nick Cage. So the film ends up getting shot in 3D. It's a big part of the sales pitch, and the special effects were all done by Gary J. Tunnicliffe, who's really well known for his work in the Hellraiser franchise and other horror films. So you have a very good like special effects wizard at the helm. This film ends up releasing on February 25th of 2011, and it has its first footage debuted July 23rd, 2010 at Comic-Con. So when it opens in ninth place at the box office with a $1.6 million Friday, which was lower than expected. Drive Angry's box office performance made it the lowest grossing opening of a 3D film that was released in more than 2,000 U.S. theaters. So the film was slightly more successful in international markets, earning $30.3 million, making an underrated cult following among 3D fans. Drive Angry was released on DVD, Blu-ray, and 3D Blu-ray on May 31st, 2011. I want to look at the two things in that statement. One, that it's the lowest grossing opening of a 3D film that was released in more than 2,000 theaters, because that just tells me that the appetite for 3D movies wasn't there. It was like looked at as like, this is a gimmick from the 80s. and we're not really interested in movies that are specifically focused on a 3D experience. Because to have this kind of budget, to open in 2,000 theaters, and then to still be the lowest grossing 3D film, it's like, it just wasn't the time.
And fair enough. It's been tried several different points throughout history. We know that 3D movies, there was a 3D technology that they had in the 20s and 30s. There was a 3D technology that they did in the 70s with the red and the blue. And I'm not sure when the real D started, but I'm thinking probably like 2009, 2010. But I remember right off the bat, like, well, no, off the bat, this was like the 3D technology that was gonna work, in air quotes there, because it was the first time you didn't have red and blue colors that were giving you headaches, and you had easy to produce glasses that theaters could hand out and recycle, and just accessibility.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I think, I know a guy who is like a big 3D enthusiast. And like, he sort of grew up and loves the technology and stuff like that. So I'll have to ask him about this. But I found this particular thread. I mean, it's a little silly, but I'm going to read it here. It's from Reddit, and it's a horror thread, and it says, Drive Angry 3D is the best 3D gore experience I've had. It says, I don't even know what this movie is, but Nick Cage is in it. Seriously, is there anything he won't do? I'm currently on a quest to look for the best 3D movies to play in my PSVR 1, and this was recommended to me. Having no idea what to expect, I started watching it. As usual, the intro showed some of the cool 3D shots, then the movie happened. The movie continues, then completely out of nowhere, there is blood splatter all over you. I guess someone got shot? Before I could even stop to think what happened, there's a gun pointing right at me, which shoots out some sort of movie magic bullet, which hits some dude in his hand, causing him to hit his machete in his head, causing limbs flying off the screen. Then, of course, there's Nick Cage having sex with someone in 3D, and he has a shootout while having sex with this woman in 3D. I still don't know what this movie is about, as Nick Cage is just having sex with everyone and shooting everyone else. There's also William Fichtner just showing up and shooting people as well. This movie's fun. I'm sure it'll get better, but I had to stop and come on here in case anyone needs a 3D recommendation for Halloween. Old movie, ouch, but easy to find. Then edit. After posting this, I got hit with a flying pentagram, more blood, someone's limb, and had countless guns pointed at me. 10 out of 10 film. No idea what the plot was, but 10 out of 10 nonetheless. Nick Cage plus 3D plus gore. Also, if you haven't seen Nick Cage have sex in a shootout in 3D, are you really a fan?
It was so exciting he had to pause it, go to Reddit,
Yeah.
mid-movie, and come back to it.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. I'm glad he's a fan though, because Reddit is a place where you can find some of those recommendations, but that was a movie that was recommended to him as well. So somebody out there is spreading the word of like, hey, if you want a good 3D experience, this is a movie that actually can like give it to you. I'd be curious now that there's like headset technology like Oculus and whatever, Facebook, Goggle, Meta, just bullshit. If we can have like, if you can have a 3D experience, like given the capabilities of that technology, so maybe you don't need some of the other setup, because that might be a accessibility thing that could help people in the future.
I have an Oculus.
Yeah. Drive Angry in virtual reality. Oh my god.
Incredible.
Yeah, So who knows? See if you can find it. See what is it. Try watching it on the headset.
I'd love to see Nicolas Cage coming on a virtual reality film.
Look, there's still time. There is still time. I know someone's listening to this that's going to be like, you know what? That's a good idea. It is. We'll watch it. You got 2 tickets sold already. Pay you in advance for those. Okay. Did you prepare a haiku for this movie?
I did prepare a haiku.
Awesome. Do you want to go first?
Let me go first.
Okay.
Because before the full moon, he must stop the Satanists, and he's not of this earth.
I like that. I was kind of trying to figure out what the full moon thing was about.
It's just how the ritual is performed. It's a necessary step.
I was like, it would be kind of cool if he turns into a werewolf. I would not be.
If he turns into a werewolf.
I would not be upset at that. Okay.
Not entirely out of place.
No, I don't think so either. Hellhounds, stuff like that makes sense. Okay. Mine was from the depths of hell, a father's vengeance unleashed, justice drives angry.
That's incredible. That's a work of art.
Oh, thank you. I was like, I'm going to try to be a little bit more serious, even though this movie is like fairly goofy for quite a large portion of it. But now that we've talked about it a little bit, like, what is your best guess as to why people did not like this movie, or that it's considered a bad movie?
In all this context that we've gone back and forth of, I think it's just the noise. I think it came out when Nicolas Cage already had a lot of movies coming out in a lot of different directions. I think it came out in 3D when 3D was kind of reaching that polarizing. Maybe it's when it was starting to get a little bit on people's nerves. So we kind of have that moving against it. I think it came out with a lot of I think it came out with a lot of like drive and energy and almost too much grindhouse exploitation in a time when that was maybe starting to be seen as over the top. And I think it probably just a little bit, it came out in the wrong moment for what it was. And maybe if it had premiered 2 or 3 years earlier, it would have really stuck with people. But maybe there was just too much too fast.
Yeah, the more that we've talked about it, the more I'm trying to contextualize it, and the word I want to use I don't feel is like actually accurate for my perception of the movie, but I think people might have looked at this as like corny because of the 3D elements of it. And like, granted in 2011, I wasn't at the theater as much as I am now. Like, I still watch a lot of movies in a year, but was I going to go to like 5 different theatrical Nick Cage releases in the same year? Like, probably not. Like, if this was his lineup this year, I would absolutely go see this in theater. So I was probably one of the people that fell victim to like, oh, he's got a bunch of movies. I'm going to prioritize the ones that I want to see most versus like, let me just see everything that he does and like make sure that I can, see it while it's in 3D. And I was probably victimized too of like, oh, I don't think the 3D thing is like a good idea at this point in time. And I'm not as interested in that as I maybe should have been. But like, yeah, given the benefit of hindsight, I'm like, oh, I wish I saw this in theater. So I actually could have seen the 3D the way that it was meant to be seen, because I think that actually is a fun element of this movie. Like, it's goofy for sure. Like, the axe blade flying at the screen, or the blood, or like people's limbs, like this kind of stuff, blood splatter. Yes, of course it's goofy, but that's like part of what the movie, plies its trade with. Is 3D is kind of like an inherently goofy element to some degree, but making sure that like you have fun with that is, I think, an important part of like the filmmaking process when you're making a 3D movie.
Definitely. And I think about how much fun it must have been to be in theaters, stuff flying at you, the audience reacting. I'd love to see, hooting and hollering and booing and just like a really engaged audience for this film. I think that is the right environment for it to be in. And I would encourage that more so than renting this at home or putting it up on your screen with friends. I think it does belong in a theater to fully appreciate it, even if it's not in 3D.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And if we could put this in 4DX, but just turn the motors on the chair off, like give me the smoke and like the mist and the smells and stuff, but like maybe don't try to eject me from my chair while I'm watching the film.
The option to turn the chairs off.
Yes,
I would quite enjoy the chair. Especially the cars flipping. I want the seats moving around. This would be an incredible 4DX movie.
Yeah, I think the last one I saw in 4DX was Top Gun Maverick, which was like intense. I felt like I was gonna fall out of my chair like a lot during the movie. I'm like, okay, maybe give me a seatbelt or something at least, like, and let me commit fully to this experience. But yeah, I think it could be fun because there are a lot of car chases. There's a lot of explosions. There's like multiple times where a car goes flipping about, whether it's his car, the cop car, the hydrogen truck that has a kind of like small explosion. I was like, oh, there's gonna be like a hydrogen bomb goes off, and it's like, no, not so much. But still a fun sequence, I think, with Fichtner just. He sort of like moseys out of the truck as it's moving, steps onto the cop car very smoothly. A really fun time. I don't know what to say.
And he just FBI. Don't think about this any further.
That's great. Yeah,
I love when Amber Heard says, "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't shoot you in the face right now." Nicolas Cage just says, "I'm driving."
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not wrong. Like, you're driving down the highway, you don't want to shoot the driver in the face. Not going to be good for you as the passenger. Especially, I don't think she was wearing her seatbelt either at that point, so it would have been really bad. But let's take a look at the trailer for this movie and see what it was advertised as back in 2011. Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick commercial from the multiverse. Not only is driving without car insurance illegal, but finding yourself on the wrong side of an accident without coverage is hell. That's why the good folks at Milton & Webster offer the lowest rates in the land of the living. Their plans are designed specifically for those of you who like to drive fast, drive hard, and drive angry. Full coverage plans for accidents, gunfights, explosions, and complete and utter destruction start as low as the cost of your eternal soul. If you drive like that, you're probably going to hell anyway, so who needs it? So the next time you're seeking revenge, make sure that your vehicle is covered by Milton & Webster's. And now, back to the show.
Tell him I'm coming.
You're too late. Hell's gonna walk the earth.
Hell already is walking the earth.
He broke out of hell to make things right.
He was good father. And got mixed up with the wrong crowd.
Now, He's got one last shot at redemption.
That cult killed my daughter and took her baby. I am going to get her back.
Thought you were dead.
You hoped I was dead.
Oh, the truck flips too. Look at that. Lots of explosions.
But the devil's right-hand man wants to bring him back.
I'm looking for someone. 6'1", angry, with attitude. If you don't tell me what I want to know.
22 miles of hard road.
Now that's a hell of a ride.
Just so you know, I don't pick up hitchhikers.
I didn't have my thumb out.
Oh, yeah.
We got a fight coming.
That baby girl's all I got.
My whole life has been nothing but waiting, and now it means something. I'm with you until the end. Oh, yeah.
You can't stop me.
I am going to kill you.
Between now and then, I'm gonna mess you up. What kind of gun is that?
You think there's anybody in there? I won't see you again until you're 73. You I'll see in 3 months.
What the hell does that mean?
Drive angry, shot in 3D.
Wouldn't want to be you when Satan finds out.
What's he gonna do? Not let me back in?
I do like that line.
And I'll say right off the bat, this is a 90s commercial.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is dated for 2011 even, I would say. You have the voiceover, you have it feels like something that would come straight off of a VHS tape before the movie starts.
It does seem just like that, like coming soon to TriStar Home Video. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's perfect to the genre.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like weird to make a very genre aware, genre specific movie. It's like, hey, we're sort of like recreating this feel from this time, but also we're gonna drop it here in 2011 and spend $50 million making it as well. It is kind of a big risk. It didn't gross
huge
that. Yeah.
It's a huge budget for that kind of project.
Yeah, I mean, 50 million for this seems like a ton, and I'm assuming a lot of that was spent on sort of like the 3Difying of the film, because like, yeah, you have a nice variety of cars in the movie, but you know, you didn't really have that many of them. So it's like you're not spending all your money on just like pyro and explosions here, although like you do blow a lot of stuff up and it looks good. You know, but you have a 64 Buick, a 69 Charger, a 71 Chevelle, and a 57 Chevy 150. So those four cars as classics are expensive enough. But also, you know, I think they said there was 3 of each. So you had the one that they would drive, the one for the stunts, and then the one that like is the demolished one at the end. So that's a decent chunk of your budget there. But I mean, I assume you could probably buy all those cars for less than $1 million. And so you still have $49 million left of your budget here. And I'm sure like Nick Cage was probably a reasonably expensive piece of the pie as well.
Yeah.
But he was not the $20 million a movie Nick Cage at this point in his career. But I'm sure he got paid well for this. Amber Heard at this time in her career is not, I think, super expensive. It's one of the first movies that I can remember of hers. So
not terribly huge in terms of like practical effects. You're not seeing big monsters. You're not seeing. Um, I mean, you are seeing blood and you're seeing damage, but nothing that would really cost too much, unless you. I'm sure CG was probably quite a big expense at this time, and you're right. The 3D technology was probably a big chunk of that.
Yeah, I mean, especially because you are like the technology is newer, and you're trying to lean into what makes that technology worthwhile. So, a lot of the stuff, probably watching it in 3D, it's like a lot of the little things, like when there's an explosion, right? We see in the trailer, hey, here's an explosion, but you don't see all the parts flying at the screen. In the trailer there too, you see where he jumps the car into like the devil worshiping like ceremony pit, right? He plows through the fiery pentagon or whatever. Pentagram, I should say, not pentagon. He plows through it, and then you see the car sort of like crash land, but in the movie itself, there's a bunch of devil worshippers that are underneath the car. So like you have the CG in all of the people there that are getting smashed by the car and make it look decent. So I think like a lot of polishing of that kind of stuff probably sucked up a lot of the budget, and I'm sure like sound design for something like this was probably pretty expensive as well. But still, I think like a fairly fun trailer for what the movie actually is. And I think again, like for the right audience it makes sense, but I think for a general audience, like B movie grindhouse stuff was already kind of like a smaller audience that you're dealing with anyway. So to then be like, hey, not only are we sort of like trying to get that audience, we're also trying to like get that audience from the 80s in 2011 as well. So it's a little tough, but all in all, I think, yeah, a good trailer that sells what the movie is, doesn't pretend to be anything that it's not. Definitely shows you like the Nick Cage of it all, and he's got some fun lines in the trailer too, where you know the sort of joke about like, what's the devil gonna do? Not let me back in? The way he delivers it, it's like he's almost got a smile on his face, but you can sort of tell that like he knows that it's funny, but like he doesn't have really like the patience to be like really joking. So it's kind of like it's a very interesting line read from him, and I love the dynamic between them in that scene too, because Fichtner kind of is like he's got a smirk on his face like the whole time. So it's a very fun character dynamic there.
Yeah, they play off each other so well. I love his line delivery when he's ordering the coffee black with sugar.
Yeah.
Gets me every time.
Yeah, he's a little heavy handed on the sugar. But yeah, I want to point out something that guy talked about in the Reddit thing, where like Nick Cage is just having sex with everyone. He is like considered, I guess, like fairly desirable throughout the course of the film, which is interesting when the understanding is that like he's out of prison versus like, oh, he's come back from the dead kind of a thing. Because we've seen that trope played up in like movies over time, where oh, this guy's been away, and so he comes out of jail and he's very horny, and he's not even the one that's really like pursuing anything. He's kind of like he's kind of statuesque, and just like he has the women like fawning over him.
Yeah, it's the diner girls. We got the woman from the bar. I suppose you could count Piper as well, but it is that kind of thing where he's the male lead, and so everybody wants to have sex with him. And this is not just an unspoken rule, and just kind of go along with it, right?
Yeah, well, the way that the guy phrased it in his review of like Nicolas Cage is just having sex with everybody and shooting everybody else, I'm like, I see why he's saying that. It would have been hilarious to have him just like literally have sex with every woman that he meets, and then also be shooting like everybody else in the story. But it's like it takes itself a little bit more seriously than that. I don't think there's
anything wrong with that either. But it is funny in the moments where it wants to be funny. And like I don't I don't know that I've necessarily ever seen Cage like portrayed as sort of like an object of sexual desire in this way, which I think maybe that's why I found it interesting. It's like he's a good-looking guy. He's mostly like married or has a girlfriend or something in a lot of the stories that he's done. Uh he's even sometimes been married and also had a girlfriend in the same story or some sort of like version of that, but he's usually cast in a kind of at least family friendly like relationship for him. And so to see him sort of be like cast into this mold and like let run free while also being kind of like disinterested himself. Like he's having sex with the woman, but he's like, I'm barely even here, right? He's like, I'm drinking, I got my cigar, I'm just waiting for the dudes to show up so I can kill them. So
He's
it's a
not
very
really
interesting
enjoying
dynamic.
it.
Yeah. That's the weird thing.
Especially in the gunfight.
Yeah. I mean, yes, this is a movie kind of like I want to say maybe Crank is kind of in the same universe, right? Where it's just like insanely over the top. But yes, he does get like tasered while still inside this woman, and she by proxy gets tasered as well. To her liking, I guess the movie suggests to us. She is very traumatized, I think rightfully so, after everything is over. But in the moment where he's like shooting everybody, I think she's still talking to him at one point, and I'm like, that's weird.
And still like orgasming,
Yeah,
really.
she was still in the throes of passion while he was completely passionless. But also like I think what I found most interesting about that is that like this woman doesn't mean anything to him. Like she's a waitress that he met a few minutes before that. He's literally like he broke out of hell, right? Like
Yeah.
so the notion that he sort of is a good enough person to protect her in that moment while all of that stuff is going on. Like he really has no incentive to protect her other than to kind of showcase that like he maybe like at his core is a protector. Like same thing with Piper. Like he didn't have any real reason to protect her, but at least in that character dynamic, it's like maybe he sees his daughter in her and he like the guilt of not being there for his daughter, sort of like that surrogate relationship is what motivates him to like be her protector. But so then when you have the moment with the waitress in the bedroom, like I think it was more of a sort of like reverse engineered thing where like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could pull this off from like a scene perspective, right? Where he's picking her up and moving her around with him while they're still engaged and sort of manipulating the environment while still having to like keep that as a consideration. I think that's sort of the way that it played out. But what it does is it shows that he is still like considerate of like keeping her safe in that moment. Like he doesn't use her as a human shield, like doesn't sort of run out of the room on her, like make sure that as best he can, he's the one who's going to be in harm's way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could probably let her get away.
He could have, yeah.
But,
I mean,
but
it's gonna run through the room full of bullets, or
but to the scene's credit, that they were spitballing. Oh, can we do a sex gunfight at the same time? How badass would that be? How awesome!
yeah, sex gunfight.
Let's see if
Say
we can
less.
pull it. Yeah. Nicolas Cage was like, absolutely, I'm in.
Yes, let's figure this out. I'm game. Yeah, pretty wild. And I think he's like drinking too. Like he's the other guy gets
bottle of whiskey, isn't
yeah. Well, it's like the scene finally settles down. Amber takes the backhoe or the paving. What is it? The garden hoe, chops the dude in the head. And so Cage can finally like relax because it's the last of the henchmen that are after him. And I think he might even still have the cigar. No, he drops the cigar when he gets tased. That's right. Yeah, but he's still got the bottle of whiskey. And the woman is still there with him. So like the way he still sort of like is disinterested in what's happening, but he like gets up and zips up his pants. It's very, very weird. Like it's funny in a very sort of like, albeit misogynistic way, grindhouse friendly way. It's crazy though. Let's do some trivia here.
Time for trivia.
So one of the questions that I was going to ask was about the director's other film, but you named it already, so you're going to get 1 bonus point to start.
Already.
And then I worked in a different question to replace it, but you're starting off already with +1. So the real question, number 1, the accountant's coin is designed after a real coin from which ancient civilization?
It's gonna be a full-on guess. I'm gonna go with Rome.
Close. It was Greece.
Oh.
It was the Greek obolos, which are the coins that are given to the ferryman that takes the spirits across the river Styx. So interesting that, number 1, he has like a weird coin that he can manipulate with telekinesis and turn into his like magic whenever he needs it. Which I think Cage busts his balls at one point. He's like, "Who do you think you are, Loki? Right, god of mischief."
Yeah.
But yeah, to make sure that like you're going to do enough of your homework to like include this and some of the mythology, I think is pretty cool. Okay, so
pay the piper.
Yeah, exactly. So question 2. So John Milton is the name of Cage's character, but John Milton also is the writer of Paradise Lost, which is a story about Satan's expulsion from hell, likely inspired the name of Cage's character here. But Nick Cage shares that character name with an Al Pacino character in which other movie?
Oh. The Devil's Advocate.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, yeah, I know that it's like maybe not officially listed as we named him John Milton because of this, but I mean, it seems pretty on the nose there. Especially, I think the Devil's Advocate was like 1999, late 90s. So it would make sense that,
vivid memories of watching it way too young.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where the baby is there playing with his mother's like innards, and it's burned into my brain.
It's a good movie. I haven't watched it in a while, but solid from what I remember. Pacino, Keanu Reeves, Charlize Theron, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. So question number 3 then. The renewed question number 3. So which Academy Award winning actress auditioned for the role of Piper but didn't get the role?
Was it Charlize Theron?
It was Brie Larson.
Really?
Yeah. Would have been interesting for sure.
Would have been a very early role for her.
Definitely. But interesting I think she was on a podcast or something where she talked about having auditioned for this. So kind of cool though. Some of the bonus trivia that we'll look at here. So the Latin that's inscribed on the God Killer bullet reads Deus Velox Nex, which from what the sort of Drive Angry trivia says is translated into God's swift violent death, which makes sense given the context of the film. But when I Google translated it, it says God is quick to fly. So I don't know. I mean, Latin is supposedly like a dead language. Who knows if Google knows what it's doing, right? But I did find it interesting that the inscription is intended to mean God's like swift, violent death. And I believe the inscription on the case, the original inscription on the case in Latin was "God help me" or "God save me," and then that's scratched out and replaced with "God killer" on it. So there is at least enough attention paid to detail in terms of like loosely crafting a mythology around the balance of heaven and hell and God in this equation. And I like Fichtner's description too of the devil as like he's really just a warden of this prison, and he's actually like pretty calm and well read. He's not really interested in taking over the world. He's just a guy who's very patient,
doing a job.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the two guys that we get in the story here. So it's kind of cool.
He's not even really mad. He just sent me because you can't be up here. Time to go home.
Yeah, and we also get these lines of Cage asking, like he mentions Loki, right? He asks Fichtner, like, "Are you Anubis?" To which he kind of like, yeah, yes and no, kind of thing. And then later at the end of the movie, in that last scene where he says he's going to escape hell again, and the accountant's like, "Okay, well, I'm looking forward to you doing that." Milton mocks him by asking him if he thinks he's Wotan. Wotan is the name of the Norse god Odin in Old German. So Odin is, he's Thor's dad in sort of Norse mythology, but is associated with death, the gallows, battle, sorcery, and frenzy. So there is a lot of like, I think, mixing of metaphors, but I like that it doesn't adhere to like a single mythology. It's like it's a world where sort of like all the mythologies are true, and you just kind of have to like pick your poison as to which one works for like what your brain will accept.
The unifying lore where everything is just a description of a singular place, entity, however you want to put it. That's impressive.
It is. No, it's kind of cool that you're gonna do enough homework to like find inspiration in a lot of different areas and sort of bring it all together. I like that, actually. And this film also reunites David Morse and William Fichtner. What is it? 14 years later after Contact, which they were both central pieces in that story. So they don't even really interact in this, which would have been cool, but I don't know how much they interact in Contact either. I think probably not at all, actually, given that story. So not ultimately surprising, but crazy that they maybe hadn't worked together in 14 years, considering they're both pretty well-traveled character actors that do good work pretty much wherever they go. So cool stuff.
Prolific too.
Yeah, for sure. You got 2 points off of the board for trivia, so we're going to go over to the bonus wheel, and we're going to see what random questions you get off the wheel. Hopefully some fun ones. See what the first one is.
I cannot see this wheel right now.
You can't. This is my eyes only. Okay, so if you had to pitch a sequel right now, what is your absurd elevator pitch for Drive Angry 2?
This isn't fair because you've already put forward a pitch.
Yeah, that was a good one. I gotta pat myself on the back there. I like
that. They come to hell to track down one. I love that idea, and maybe they have to come back to Amber Heard, and just have her like drive them around as they're chasing down this new threat.
Yeah, you could bring back Amber Heard because it's been what? Let's see. So this is 2011. It's been 15 years. So now you can even include like, hey, the daughter is a teenager. Amber Heard has now moved into like the sort of longtime mother / older sister capacity at this point.
She could do a badass like Terminator 2 makeover.
Yeah.
With training and like really buff, shaped like half shaved head.
And she's been trying to protect this baby from these cultists for 15 years by herself. Cage has been watching from hell, because he says like the live TV down there is just a live stream of all of your loved one's misery, which is a really like interesting description of hell. The fact that the movie slows down to take the time to like contextualize what hell's like, because I think his buddies, he sees him staring in the fire, and he asks him like, "Oh, does that remind you of home?" or something like that. And like Cage is just in this like zoned out stare and says, it's not the burning, it's not the fire, it's the TV, right? It's the video feed, and that all you see is the suffering of your loved one. So it's like he had to watch what happened to his daughter, like with no filter. And I mean, granted, that's kind of like moved on past pretty quickly, but it is a pretty like terrifying depiction of what hell is like. And for a guy who also like played Ghost Rider, who, hell spirit seeking vengeance. Yeah, just mix them together. Let's get Ghost Rider 3 plus Drive Angry 2, and we'll just make it all one movie. Milton comes back, but he's also the spirit of vengeance. Totally doable.
I'd love like multiple breakouts too, like they're chasing down like a gang of demons as they like wreak havoc on the earth. I think you could make it a lot bigger.
Yeah. Was that Jonah Hex? Was that the other one, the like rest in peace department, RIPD?
Yeah. Not a great movie.
No, not because it's missing Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Yeah, Nicolas Cage would make a great art movie.
Let's do it. Somebody, maybe somebody in this chat right now is a filmmaker and can pull that off. I don't know, just saying. Okay, let's take a look at that second question off the wheel. So what is an item, an object, or a piece of technology from the film that you would want to have for yourself?
I mean, it's pretty tempting to say the gun.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would get any use out of the gun. I want the coin that can turn into anything you want. I want FBI. Let me do whatever I want to do right now.
Yeah, if I can control it with my mind as well, I think that would come in handy. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the Chevelle. Pretty nice there.
A nice little car.
Yeah. I've always wanted like a classic muscle car, but I'm not like adept enough to do the upkeep. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the ass for someone like me who just sort of thinks it's pretty. But yeah, that would be nice. I would settle for that because it's like, yeah, the God Killer gun is cool, knowing that it's like, hey, this is like a interdimensional weapon, but also, what the hell am I gonna do with this thing?
Yeah.
If the devil ever comes a calling, I'll have his number. But until then, it's just going to be like sitting with my physical media collection over there. So
a little bit of overkill.
Yes, the coin is a much more practical answer. Okay, so let's go to more or less, and you're just going to tell me something that you want more of from the film and something that you want less of.
Well, I think we could have gotten more out of the cult. Like, I know that they're quite a presence throughout the film, but they weren't ever like over the top.
Yeah.
And I think back to like Mandy, which did a much similar a plot, but in a much more overt, like, this is our cult. This is why they're so much like more, so much bigger. We know that they're inviting the Antichrist to Earth, and we know that it works for real. We know that he's left from hell. We know we have these really over the top things that could be happening, and I think I would like to see more of that in the world building. Just because it comes off quite grounded for grounded in another air quotes, but I do think we could see more of like the hell on earth aspects out of this cult.
Well, that leads me to a couple of things, because number one, I want to talk about Billy Burke a little bit as the cult leader, because I think he's good, and because he's as good as he is, I do want more of him. And there's a couple scenes with him that are just like really intense, where he sort of finds Milton in the church the first time. When they show up at the ceremony the second time, well, not the second time, but later in the film, like the final showdown, and he says to Cage, he's like, I'm gonna beat you to death with the last like remnants of your daughter, or something like that, because he's turned his daughter's femur into a cane that he uses. And so it wasn't just like Cage's daughter wasn't just like some insignificant sort of person in this cult leader's life. It wasn't just like someone he killed to kill and get the baby. It's like he took pleasure in her death and like wants a memento of it. And so there is like a sick perversion that comes along with that. And I think he is such a sort of good character that I would have liked maybe some of the other stuff stripped down a little bit to give him more, to make him more menacing. Because it's like when he's one-on-one with any of them, he sort of like gets his ass kicked because he's kind of like a coward. But making him more menacing would have been, I think, an interesting choice,
because he is the antithesis to Nicolas Cage's character. Yeah. They're very much interlinked, all
the way down
in a very deliberate way.
Yeah, all the way down to the fact that he had his wiener bitten off. So it's like he's not desirable to women, and like they're completely opposites in that way. He doesn't protect women. He wants he wants hell on earth, which is like, I don't know, kind of crazy. Like, do devil worshippers ever think like what that means? I get that, like, maybe like, hey, it seems cool to worship Satan or whatever, but like, do you know what hell on earth actually like means for your existence as a person? I don't know that they ever think it through all that far.
I think they just want to be the big guy. I did it. I'm the king of the castle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think given the context of the movie, like if you had less of the sort of bravado type of stuff where you're doing sort of like legend building for Nick Cage, and focus more on the personal stakes and the rivalry with this particular guy, and do more of the cult building, the movie maybe is like, it's a little smaller, it's more narrowly scoped, I think, and maybe that helps it, because this being like a broad playground is fun if you like it, but clearly a lot of people didn't.
And I already spent $50 million on it. I don't think I could justify, $150 million movie to make Drive Angry 2.
Well, maybe we don't need 150 million. But what was the thing that you want to see maybe less of in this movie?
I think you could get more of the lore if you kind of take down the driving road trip aspects of it. Which is a silly thing to say to Drive Angry, because obviously it's the literal vehicle that drives the plot. But I do feel like you can get a lot more if you're grounded in a place. They could have been just in the same town that the cult leader was in. You could get a lot more out of the lore, as long as. But I understand why, and obviously to the exploitation genre, it's a much needed plot device or genre key point. But to my tastes, I would like to see more the interactions between the characters.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy to be like, hey, less driving in a movie called Drive Angry, but I do agree with you in that, like, there is probably still a little bit too much. Either you have to commit to it fully where they're in the car the whole time and they like never get out of the car. Then I'm like, okay, now at least you've committed to your bit and you're going to go for it the whole time. And it's a road movie. It's a sort of chase movie. It's an action movie the whole time. I could live with that. But there is a lot of sort of like stop and go with the driving stuff. And it's just like, oh, this car explodes and now he needs a new car. And so he can blow up another car. And it's a lot of that. And it does get a little bit redundant where the movie is still really like fun and enjoyable outside of those like action set pieces. So yeah, I think you could trim out maybe like 10 minutes of the driving stuff and probably still have a very cohesive movie with plenty of driving. Plenty of cars.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know you said you had some like quotes set aside from this movie, so I want to hear what you've got for us.
One of Nick Cage's first lines, and it was something in the way that he delivered it, but we saw it in the half of it in the trailer. But he comes out, the first thing he says after he shoots one of the cult members in the leg, he says, "You tell him I'm coming. You tell him I'm coming to get her back." And the way he delivers it, like
it reminded me sort of what we get from Wyatt Earp in Tombstone, where he's like, "You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me." It's like it was going there, and then it took a hard left, and it's like, no, we're not going there.
No, it's a insinuated dick joke.
Yeah.
It's there for the degenerates.
Yeah.
And the cafe, I wrote down black with sugar, and she's on top of him making out, and he's like, "I told you I wanted sugar."
Yeah, it's like, damn, there's a bit of an overreaction, my man. Like, I think you're okay.
When I realized everybody in this film was quipping, I wrote down Piper's quote here, "But nobody reaches the end and says, 'I wish I hadn't fucked so much.'"
Yeah. Fair point. She's encouraging him. She's like, "This waitress wants to bang you. You should do that because I am also going to go do this," which she doesn't. But interestingly enough, it was like that was the nudge that he needed to make it happen.
Yeah. And why don't you fuck naked? I never disrobe before a gunfight is. I know we mentioned it earlier, but it stuck out so well.
Yeah.
Action just breaks in as soon as that line comes in. And at the very end, I don't believe I'll be having that beer just now. Not unless I'm drinking it from Jonah King's skull. And we do get to see him drink the beer from Jonah King's skull at the end of the film. So
they do deliver
it was
on
quite
that
a
promise.
good callback.
Yeah, they do deliver on that promise. And I think you even probably with the way it's shot in 3D, he has the skull with like his finger sort of like through the eyeball kind of, and it's like sloshing the beer out when he like holds it up to the camera. I'm glad
he's still pretty casual about it.
He's very casual about it. But he seems to be enjoying himself. That other line though about what is it? I only undress. I never undress before
never
a gunfight.
Disrobe
Never
before
disrobe.
A gunfight.
One of the questions on the bonus wheel is what line of dialogue would you want to have on a T-shirt, and I think that's probably the one right there.
And you can even have the silhouette of like
her
on top of him and him holding the shotgun.
Yeah, a little graphic tee. I think that's probably the best one from this movie. So, all right, let's take a look at Critics Corner. We'll see what the critics had to say. We've got a 44 Metascore on the board. And we start at the bottom, as we always do. It's the Boston Globe. Wesley Morris says, Drive Angry is something new for Cage. A movie that it feels like it's straight from cable. I mean, yeah, sure. But I don't think that's as much of an insult as he thinks.
No, I mean, I could see it being a one that I would like flip to on the channels if we watch TV like that anymore.
Right. I mean, I saw a lot of movies that way where I would just be flipping through channels and be like, seen it, and don't want to watch that right now. Oh, here's something I haven't seen. Just put it on and take a chance. And yeah, I like the convenience of that we don't really have anymore. It doesn't work that way with streaming for some reason. I'm just like add to watch list, add to watch list, add to watch list. I'm fatigued from scrolling. I'm going to play PlayStation for a little bit and go to bed. Okay, let's let's move up the board. We've got 1, 2, 3 40s. It is Empire, Time Out, and The Hollywood Reporter. So you get to choose.
Let's go with Time Out.
This is Joshua Rothkopf from Time Out. Says, we've seen Nicolas Cage when he's angry, and we like him when he's angry. So why does this painfully loud revenge movie skimp on the Cage rage? I think that's a fair question because we did talk about sort of like it taking Nicolas Cage, who was famous at this point in his career for the kind of insanity that he does, and he gives a fairly measured performance.
He is quite tempered down while everybody else is elevated.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting, especially given the name, Drive Angry.
Which I didn't realize until, they don't really show it that much, but it's the license plate of the Charger that, they take in the beginning. So it's not even like him Drive Angry. It's not Amber Heard. It's the boyfriend that was cheating on her. It's his car and his license plate. So it's kind of like a weird title. And I'm like, oh, okay. Doesn't necessarily like add up in the way that I thought it was going to.
That boyfriend scene was hilarious.
Yeah, Amber like drags that girl outside naked, beats her ass.
Immediately after saying, "Oh, he's a great man. I know he's a good man." And there's nothing about him that looks like a good man.
Yeah, the movie's got a sense of humor, and I mean that's Todd Farmer in that scene. That's one of the writers for the movie playing the boyfriend who's doing the cheating and then gets his ass beat by Cage. So yeah, I think there's definitely some self-awareness there from the writer's room. Okay, let's climb the board. We've got 1, 2, 3 50s on the board. So you've got the Globe and Mail Toronto, you've got the AV Club, and you've got the Chicago Sun-Times Roger Ebert.
Can we do Roger Ebert and Toronto? I'm curious about how it played in Canada.
Sure. I always read Roger Ebert when he's on the board. So he says, here is an exercise in deliberate vulgarity, gross excess, and the pornography of violence. Not to forget garden variety pornography. You get your money's worth. Okay, it seems like he kind of liked it.
Yeah.
he didn't hate it. It's a 2 out of 4.
He knew what it was going for. It was
he did.
And 50 isn't necessarily that's kind of on the cusp of pass fail, isn't it?
Yeah, and Ebert's been around for a long time. He knows what he's getting himself into. Okay, so you said you want to do Globe and Mail Toronto. This is Liam Lacey. Strictly for the midnight movie crowd. Drive Angry serves up a nonstop stream of female nudity, flying body parts, gun battles, and smart alecky dialogue.
People, yeah.
Not a bad thing.
I know that I am the midnight movie crowd, but I've never understood how this is a bad thing. I've never understood how people wouldn't want their films to be entertaining over everything, because that is its role in the culture.
Yeah. I mean, I get that it's like this ain't the kind of movie like you're gonna bring your family to, right?
Yeah,
That's not the target demo for this, but
my mom would not enjoy this movie.
yeah, my wife would be like, "Oh, you're just watching this for the boobs." I'm like, I didn't even know there were boobs. All right, I just pushed play. I've never seen this before. That kind of movie.
It
Okay.
delivers on the boobs.
It does. It does. Like many films have prior to this one. Let's see. We did the Chicago Sun-Times. This is the Chicago Reader. No attribution though. Says a trio of stridently weird performances from Cage, Fichtner, and David Morse. Interesting. Brighten this otherwise rote actioner. David Morse is like barely in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's barely a comment on the film at all.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like David Morse is not weird. He's just a dude, right? Fichtner's weird. Cage is weird. Yeah. Morse, not so much. Okay. Well, I should have skipped over that one and trusted my instincts. Let's go to the Orlando Sentinel. This is a 63 from Roger Moore. Says Heard sets herself up as a Megan Fox with talent. Ouch, shots fired at Megan Fox. And Cage, he delivers. Mock him for his bad choices if you will. But consider this. Who else could have made this work or even would want to?
Valid point. I don't think we could replace Cage with any other actor and still get
no, not for $50 million. This is going straight to video on demand if Nick Cage is not involved in this.
Yeah, there's nobody I could even think that would be able to carry a film like this.
Yeah, I'll save my thought for the next segment here, but okay, let's go to Variety. Surprisingly, Variety's at the top of the board with a 70. This is Rob Nelson. Says, despite amply funded FX, including some spectacular muscle car stunts, the movie motors to the grindhouse with squealing tires and guitars, gratuitous nudity and gore, and a scantily clad, greasy spoon waitress endearingly played by Amber Heard. I mean, she's got Daisy Dukes, but I wouldn't say she's scantily clad.
No, honestly, that's a good review. I'd give that probably an 85 with that same description.
Yeah, the movie motors to the grindhouse. It does. That's the point. Yeah, I was hoping for I was hoping for something a little bit like sort of higher on the board, but it seems like most of the reviews kind of like fall into the same category of like the exploitative nature of it, and then it's just basically mileage will vary at that point. Like if you like this genre, you will like this movie, but generally speaking, this genre is sort of considered to be less than, and is not a super popular genre in general. I mean, I even think of Tarantino's Death Proof. Like that movie was not super well received when it came out. I'm like, why? I was like, I love this movie. So
I remember seeing Death Proof and Planet Terror together in that grindhouse package, and it would have been around the same time, like
yeah, fairly close.
Even back then, we would have seen Night of the Living Dead 3D. It was a time when grindhouse was at least in the mainstream consciousness, if not a mainstream driver of ticket sales, which
yeah, it's like
clearly not.
Well, it's like finally there was filmmakers who had sort of grown up watching that era of films and being inspired by that, getting to like make their own versions, right? Because I mean, you have Hobo with the Shotguns 2011, also Death Proof and Planet Terror is 2007, Machete is 2010. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is coming out when these filmmakers are like, oh, I finally get to sort of like scratch this itch of these films that I grew up being really entertained by and wanting to like make a version of that myself.
Art films got adult money.
Yeah, exactly. I get to do whatever I want with this. I'm gonna have to check out some other. I've seen Tokyo Gore Police, which I mean, it is definitely grindhouse, but in a completely different way than what we're accustomed to, sort of in the style of American cinema. But Black Dynamite's 2009. Another Black Dynamite's a really good movie. Understands the genre really well. So there's some good stuff in here. I'm gonna have to check out this list here. I've never seen The Editor. A film editor gets embroiled in a string of murders.
Guys. Yeah. I worked with Tristan Risk. I adore her. She's one of the tops in that movie.
Oh, I got Udo Kier too. Yeah, good cast. I'll have to check that out. Looks fun.
Father's Day, the first one by Astron 6. They did it for $10,000 with Troma, and yeah, that's probably it's them doing grindhouse in that era of grindhouse being in the theaters, but with like the tiniest budget you could possibly imagine.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. Got my list pulled up here, and so I got to make a supplemental list of stuff to watch now. But
Shout out Astron 6.
Yeah. well, since we're at that point in the show where we're talking about recommendations and stuff, what is your gateway drug movie for driving?
It's Ghost Rider.
Okay,
where we have very similar plots. We have a good, just a good introduction of Nicolas Cage getting to these kind of bigger performances, and obviously like more expensive films. We're seeing I think the second Ghost Rider was his friend from the Crank film, so definitely that's a good place to like enter into and watch why he was put in this place in the first place, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm gonna cover Ghost Rider 2 Spirit of Vengeance later in the year. It was initially planned to be sort of like a bridge movie between this and another month that I'm planning, but it just didn't work out timing wise. So I'm going to do a bunch of superhero sequels, and Ghost Rider is going to kick off that one because, I always want an excuse.
Does that make it under the
Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider 2 is well under the bar. It's even lower than Ghost Rider 1. It's like a 40 overall. So, yeah.
I don't understand this world that we live in.
I know. You give me a guy coming back from hell who rides a fiery motorcycle and collects people's souls, like made for grindhouse entertainment. I don't know. Maybe we're sickos, but so be it. Yeah. So I'll be talking about that one a little bit later in the year, probably around like the summer. But I think maybe Machete. The first or the second one doesn't really matter. I mean, they're both a little bit, I think, more self-referential with the humor. Like it wears the humor a little bit more on its sleeve, but like good, fun casting, really like sort of gruesome violence when it wants to implore that. And I mean, it's like, I think the best part about it is like you finally see Danny Trejo like get a starring role, because it's like if you watched sort of grindhouse stuff and you grew up watching these kind of like B movies and stuff, like you probably had seen Danny Trejo so many times in so many other movies, but never as the lead. So to finally like get him the lead is a really sort of fun experience, and it would be like probably a really good doubleheader to watch Machete and Drive Angry back to back.
Well, I'll say, like, I worked in a movie theater when grindhouse, the full experience, the the two films and all the fake trailers played in the theater. I got to see it that way. I remember immediately being turned on to, oh, this is a genre of film that I all of a sudden can go back and watch and get accustomed to. And in Edmonton, actually, we have a movie rental store called The Lobby, and it's the last movie rental place in Edmonton. But they at the time they were you could only rent cult films there. So they had sections for nunsploitation, sexploitation, a little corner for like Japanese horror. Maybe you had Roger Corman films underneath Quentin Tarantino films. And it was this like really unique experience where, oh, there's a whole underworld of cinema that I that I am now privy to and turned on to, and that it for a young impressionable high schooler like me, it Drive Angry kind of fit right into that that place and time.
Very cool. There is a video store out here that I gotta check out, but because you brought up the Grindhouse double feature, so Nick Cage like has a cameo in that. He's in one of the fake movie trailers, which is he plays Fu Manchu in, was it Werewolf Women of the SS? Yeah, so like Nick Cage has a very small role in that, and it's kind of like interesting that he did that, but like has he ever really worked with Robert Rodriguez or Tarantino on anything? No. Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Be fun to make it happen. Drive Angry 2, let's go.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino. Let's do this.
The 10th and final film from Quentin Tarantino. Who would have
Honestly,
thought?
I'd give it to Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Cool. Well, this has been fun. I want to give you the opportunity to, tell people where they can find you, where they can watch your short films, and what you got coming up. What are you working on?
Oh, yeah. So I'm Topher Graham. I'm one half of Bad Cookie Pictures. I have also worked on grindhouse themed films. So if you search up Bad Cookie Pictures, you might run across Punks versus Lizards, which stars the aforementioned Tristan Risk. My latest film, you can find it on our YouTube channel now. It's called Don't Tell Your Mom. And coming in the fall, we'll be releasing our newest nonfiction web series called Sustainably Spooky. So keep your eyes peeled. We're always doing plenty, and we're really active on YouTube. So come find the Bad Cookie Pictures YouTube channel. Check out Don't Tell Your Mom. Check out Punks versus Lizards. I'm all over the place.
Well, I will make sure that I put up all that stuff in the show notes for everybody.
Excellent. And if you're in Edmonton, check out The Lobby. It's the setting of The Last Video Store, which is a great movie.
Very cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. It's been fun, as always, my man. If there's another Nick Cage movie somewhere in the holster, I don't have anything planned yet officially for like the next Nick Cage month, but like realistically, he's got 130 movies. Most of them probably would make it onto the show. So I just need to sort of rework which ones I'm going to do next. But I've got you down for Poultrygeist come Thanksgiving time. But yeah, anytime you want to come on the show and chat, you know where to find me, and I'm happy to have you.
Excellent. Thank you. Good to see you, Nick.
Good to see you too. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks to Topher for coming back on the show and sharing his love of Nicolas Cage with us. Maybe if I roll out a third Nicolas Cage month sometime next year, Topher will come back and do it again. If you had a good time with us and you want to see what Topher is doing in the meantime, make sure you check out the Bad Cookie Pictures YouTube page, where you can find all of his short film work, and reach out to him at Sneezing Wolf on Instagram. I'll make sure all that stuff is in the show notes. And speaking of the show notes, while you're there, check out the rest of the Scheist Podcast Network, which includes Hers, His, and Ours, Ex-Friends, the original Scheist Podcast, and Kunked, a comedy podcast dedicated to Philomena Kunk. And in the show notes, you will also find the listener survey where you can give me a piece of your mind, and it's completely anonymous. I also want to give a quick shout out to our contributing members: Kristen, Sharon, Ben, Sean, Josie, Donnie, Nathan, and Melissa. Your contributions help the show to keep running smoothly, and you've got some members' exclusive gifts coming your way. If you're interested in supporting the show by becoming a member, make sure to check the show notes and click where it says support the show. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to not just this episode, but the entire show. The podcast options are plentiful. So the fact that you took the time to listen to this show and to trust me with that time means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. So until next time, be good, do good, watch movies, and have fun. Take care, everybody.